Hey guys, it's the Projectile Hobbyist, and today in this video what we're going to talk about is aftermarket triggers, if you can trust them, if they're reliable, some of the pros and cons, and then I'll share some of my feelings on some triggers that I've added to my carry pistols specifically. So on this Ruger Max 9 here, this is a great pistol. I don't carry it too often, but I do have the Galloway Precision Max's short stroke trigger. It is a great trigger. I don't have any issues. The stock one I noticed it also is completely usable, but the stock one had a little more what I'll call squish. So once you get to the wall here, you could still pull it a little bit more, and it had a little bit of movement before it finally went off. So something that I like with upgraded triggers is just how crisp that trigger pull can be. Some of the pros of upgrading your triggers is, believe it or not, improved accuracy, and not that it's doing anything to the actual round itself, but having that crisp trigger pull can help remove some of the play. So some people, they have different habits, whether they're aware of them or not, that fluctuates with their trigger finger. So I'm going to exaggerate it here, but if you're anticipating recoil, you might, push it down a little bit. But your trigger finger itself can slightly pull your aim down or to the right. It kind of varies depending on your trigger finger, which hand you're shooting. So having a shorter, crisper trigger can help eliminate that, making your shots a little bit more accurate, especially that first shot. Less flinching, less trigger jerk. It's very important that you're getting your shots on. And of course, what follows your first shot, it's going to be your follow-up shot. So a trigger with that shorter reset and lighter pull can help you shoot faster in a possible defensive scenario where time is of the essence. And another pro that I would say for aftermarket triggers is just a better trigger feel. So obviously this one's pretty subjective. But generally speaking, if you're upgrading a trigger, the chances are that the upgraded trigger is going to be an improved feeling. Otherwise, that manufacturer is probably not going to sell many triggers. So on this Hellcat here, I have installed the Apex trigger. It's actually my second one. I've got another pistol full size that I've installed a aftermarket trigger. And again, what I like is there's less of that squish. It's more of just a hard wall with a crisp break. And then also the reset is very well defined, and you're back on it right away for any of those follow-up shots that you may have to take. There is another pro I guess I'd consider is the little bit of flair or customization that gets added. So obviously a little bit of color here. I like red. I think it looks pretty good on the pistol. On this one, obviously I just went with the black, which is always a safe bet. So I've actually had a bit of a personal story, some bad dreams where I draw a pistol needing to defend myself, and I'm trying to fire, and for some reason it's like I have 100-pound pull on my trigger, and I got my aim on, I'm pointing, I'm pulling, and no matter how hard I pull, I'm not able to get the pistol to fire. So definitely more of a personal issues. I've had some similar ones where I'm needing to fight with my hands and I'm punching in slow motion. And so I don't know why, but those are just issues I have with my own dreams. But story for another time. In terms of some of the cons for upgrading your carry pistols to aftermarket triggers, there is a possibility of being held legally liable if someone is claiming that this defensive shooter, he wanted a hair trigger, he wanted to be more aggressive. But I've said it before and I'll say it again, I hope I never ever have to use a pistol outside of a gun range for my entire life. I don't ever want to have to draw a pistol in a self-defense situation ever. I don't want that ever to happen. I think it would, take its toll on me mentally, as it does with officers and other people that do have to draw their pistols to defend themselves. It's not something I ever want to experience. I just want these to be a hobby. I want to have fun with them. I want all my memories of shooting pistols to be positive at a gun range only. But much like a seatbelt, much like a fire extinguisher, should I ever have a need for any of the above, I'd much prefer to have it over, not having it. Another con, I would say, could be the possibility of reduced reliability. So sometimes product manufacturers it could be a downgrade depending on what it is that you're applying it to. So be it pistols or be it an upgrade to your car or a computer or something like that. Sometimes a lot of the marketing and what you see online from people that have not adequately reviewed products, it kind of builds it up to be something better than it actually is. So definitely a poor installation or a lack of testing can cause, malfunctions, which in a worst case scenario could cost you your life. But as with anything, test, and keep testing it. So when I first got into everyday carry, I was definitely of the mindset that, hey, don't change the pistol except for maybe a grip or some sights. Don't change any internals, don't change anything. But even if the pistol is stock, you need to test it. You need to shoot these things hundreds of times, if not thousands of times, so that you know the recoil pattern. Not only test the firearm, test the carry ammunition that you're using, because you want to make sure that that carry ammunition works in your firearm effectively as close to 100% of the time as needed. And then even get practice with jams, tap, rack if you do have some type of jam, and get back on target. So make sure it is expensive, the carry ammo, that depending on what you're looking at, probably at least $1 per round. So I just, as a habit, I get a new pistol, I shoot it hundreds of times with standard full metal jacket rounds, and then I'm going to aim for 200 to 300 rounds of the specific carry ammo that I intend on carrying in that pistol. So you want to make sure you have plenty of testing with that. Again, not only the pistol, but the trigger if you upgrade it, and the ammunition as well. You want to make sure it's all reliable and you've had thousands of shots to that firearm so that you can trust it with your life. The third con is generally avoidable with a strong trigger finger discipline. As I said in previous videos, your index, your trigger finger, this is your default position. It should always be off the trigger until you're ready for it to go bang. So this is generally avoidable, but there is the possibility of a negligent discharge with any trigger. Obviously, with a more sensitive trigger, there's going to be less pull weight, so that risk technically goes up because it takes less force to fire your weapon. But again, it's completely avoidable with good discipline for your trigger finger, and then also a quality holster. As I've mentioned in the past, I prefer Kydex holsters. I want a hard cover covering the trigger guard here, making sure that nothing can get pressed in there and activate this more sensitive trigger. And then lastly, just a reality of it, whether you're upgrading a pistol or a vehicle or a computer, whatever it may be, the manufacturers, they might void your warranty. If you purchase a pistol that has a manufacturer, recall, for example, or something of the sort, it could void your warranty or their company policy, and there's just a chance that they're not going to honor your pistol's warranty. So if you send it in with a upgraded trigger, the manufacturer of Springfield Armory, in this case with this pistol, they cannot stand by the work of Apex Triggers. They're two separate companies. Obviously, you hope that Apex has done adequate testing and they stand by their products. So if something goes wrong specifically with the trigger, hopefully they honor that. But should I have a issue with this Hellcat and I sent it in to Springfield Armory, there is the possibility that they're going to say, hey, we can't help you because you changed the trigger and we're not responsible for what's been done to the pistol itself internally. My feelings, train regularly. You want to make sure that you trust and understand your trigger on all of your pistols. If you only have one pistol, that's fine. I totally understand. For years, I didn't want to upgrade any trigger. I wanted to just leave it completely stock to avoid any headache, any issues that could possibly come. But as I mentioned in the pros, there are benefits to having a clean, crisp trigger in terms of accuracy, comfort, aesthetics as well, which is probably the least important one. So just make sure you're testing everything. If you're putting a new trigger, get hundreds of rounds through it. If you only have a new pistol and it's all stock, get hundreds of rounds through it. Make sure you're very comfortable with the tool. Make sure you know what to expect in terms of recoil and ammunition performance. You don't want to have any hiccups in a time where you absolutely need that pistol. So that's all for today. As always, let me know what kind of thoughts you have on aftermarket triggers. Do you upgrade your triggers? Do you not want to touch that? Do you not feel confident taking your pistol apart, changing the trigger and reassembling? If you feel like I've earned it, drop me a like on this video and we'll shoot the chat next time.